We are in my house, aka the control center, aka where we make music as Agent Green, and where I make music personally. It's my bedroom and it's a studio, so it's like a very sacred place to me. I make music. I call myself Jeff Alberts, but there are other projects and names that I would refer to myself like within like Agent Green. I've gone by other names in the past, but Jeff Alberts is kind of like my name, obviously my individual project, but then Agent Green is also an entity I work within at the current moment. Vaguely stating it, I'm from Milwaukee, but I'm from like southeastern Wisconsin. Like West Allis. My dad lived there. My mom lived in Franklin. I grew up in elementary school going in Franklin and Hales Corners. So I'm a local to southeastern Wisconsin. Graduated in Brookfield, oddly enough, and then moved out to Milwaukee as soon as I could. I don't know, I've always thought of myself as a Milwaukee cat, so born and raised here, I tell people, but just a suburb dude. When I was younger, I really liked a lot of like really random electronic music like Cam FDM and like Crystal Method, and like my older cousins would show me like cassette tapes and like CDs when they came out. We listened to a whole bunch of explicit CDs in our shared bedroom, Pat and I. Hip hop wise, I mean, at the time, we didn't really have a lot of hip hop in our lives until later on. And that was more like Sublime and like 311, which is like not hip hop. It's like ska, obviously. That was like an iteration of like what our culture was showing us at the time that I thought was kind of hip hop-esque. The first time I really made good stuff, whether it was like painting or a good song, whether I thought it was like actually good, was when I had some like big things happen in my life. When I was like breaking up with a girl like in high school, one of my first like really close girlfriends that I thought I was like gonna be with forever, and then we broke up and I like painted something, and then I made a dubstep song, and then I thought I was like a special little flower, and that's what drove me to like create something that I could admire and that I played for other people who really enjoyed it. I guess major life events are very inspiring is the point. Graffiti influenced me in a great way because it was more of like a street culture thing, because at the time I was a white kid from Brookfield that would commute to Milwaukee for breakdancing classes, and like in between there and there I would like write graffiti or like observe other people's graffiti and like learn and like just soak it all up, because I thought that culture of hip hop was so interesting, so majestic, so powerful, because it represents something like a history and like an attitude, and I definitely relate with that and identify with that. Graffiti is so much fun. I would say the moment I knew I wanted to pursue music was when I was in my freshman year of college at Marquette, and it was like the end of my freshman year finals, and I'd been getting like B's and C's and like pretty good grades, but like not good enough. I knew I could do better, and I was studying for one of my finals, but like also making a track. And one of my buddies came up to me and he was like, "Yo man, do you want to make a track?" And then another friend of mine came up to me and he was like, "Yo, do you want to study for this final with me?" And I was totally with the first guy. I was inclined to go hang out with him, not because I didn't want to study. I was good at that material, but because I wanted to explore what I didn't know about making music. That was kind of a turning point though, when I didn't study for that final. Started making music and went the next semester I went to MATC for audio engineering. A lot of people don't know what Delita was. Delita was like circa 2007, 9, up until like maybe 13, 12. So like 5 years, Justin Richter and I made a lot of music. He's my cousin. We made a lot of music together within the genre of EDM, like dubstep, drum and bass, house music, trip hop. He made some like minimal stuff. He made some like soundtrack stuff. He's like an amazing producer. He's an amazing artist in general. So we made stuff. We performed live before like a bunch of very prominent artists at the time. I don't know, Milwaukee was a huge fan for a second, and then we stopped making music for a little bit, and we definitely like grew apart on, some certain things. I still respect him. I still love him. He's always going to be my cousin. I always love him. But, the Delita return, will it ever happen again? Who knows? That's just a thing that occurred back then. And I was happy that it did. It brought me to where I'm at. It taught me a lot of things. So like, that's why I still love and respect the dude. And can't not, we played some really fucking tight shows. but it was so much fun, and I don't regret it. So the genre has changed in that, you know, we used to make a lot of electronic music. Specifically, I would operate through like Reason 5, I think at the time. And now I studied and learned under the program of Logic Pro X. So my workflow and my software structure has changed completely, even besides like the genre change. I went to hip hop from EDM because hip hop was so much more relaxing, chiller. It seemed like more of like a mature thing to do because, you know, I don't see myself at 35 or 45 like sipping tea and like listening to a dubstep banger on my porch as I'm like looking out into the mountains. If I should ever be so lucky, you know, like one day maybe I'll be in that position, but will I listen to that song in that position? Fuck no. I'm going to listen to like some good Jay Dilla or like some hip hop that's going to make me relax. So I want to make some shit that someone's going to be relaxed to and like look forward to. And frankly, I like it too. So like hip hop just seems like a mature transition from EDM. And I still do make EDM. Like I still make it, just not under any name, and I don't release it. It's my stuff that I keep at home and I like absolutely rage out to. Like people have therapists and stuff. Like I just like make drum and bass and get really angry in the control center here. So it works out. Today, the process is pretty vague because it's like however I'm feeling and it's based on like the genre of the track. So for a hip hop song, first I'll get a drum kit. Then I think Alec will probably jump on the bass or Casey will jump on the bass. Sometimes it's Matt too, because we have a lot of session players or like friends around willing to play different instruments. And Matt, Casey, and Alec can all play guitar and bass. So they'll lay down a sick bass line, and then we'll switch over to guitar. Alec has been doing a lot of work with Agent Green, laying down his own original tracks too, which I'm really proud of him for. Like it takes a lot to build those layers and have that patience. And we've been doing that like the last couple times, right? If it's a sampled song though, and it's hip hop, I would probably run a drum kit over just some records or something that I have, like a Motown record, something where, you know, I look at the cover and I'm like, oh man, this is soulful, you know, and I loop it back or I like pitch it down or do something really weird to make it unrecognizable if I don't love it to begin with, you know. So there's a lot of different ways you can peel the orange, but in the end of the day, it just depends on that bass line and the percussion. Like I said before, major life events will inspire, but also just a day off sometimes. If I have a day off of work and I don't have anything to do for the whole day, I'll wake up at 8 a.m. and just start going through records. That will give me more time to find like more samples, and then I can configure like which sample of those that I prefer most, and then make like a really good song based on that, like what I think is a really good song. Agent Green started when I met Alec at the Miramar. I would talk to him about his like concrete or like asphalt paving job at the time. He would just always complain because he got paid like shit fucking per hour for like what he was doing, you know? And I just remember seeing him after a full day of work at the other job, and he would just come into the Miramar with like all this stuff on his hand. He was working some crazy hours and like getting out at like 2, 3 in the morning, then going back to his asphalt job at like 8 a.m. This was like a weekly thing for him. So that was shocking to me. And I was like, okay, this dude wants something. And I didn't know what he wanted or like what he was gunning for. And he told me he was a rapper. And I was like, well, I make beats. We should probably do some shit. And like everyone says that. He was like, yeah, I'll come over to your house and we'll do something. And I lived with my mom at the time. So I was like, well, you want to come over to my mom's house? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, okay, he's serious. Anyways, so he came over and the rest is history because we just clicked right away and he liked all the tracks that I had. And we've never not been doing this. Quiet Time is a reflection of a lot of different moments in my life compiled with like things and people and stuff. Mostly depressive times. Like this album was like geared toward a more like brooding mood, like not necessarily happy or classy or, you know, if you're stuck in your house on a rainy day, this track will probably help you feel better about being in that spot, maybe accompany the mood. I just enjoyed making it, and a lot of it reminded me of bad times that were translated like through therapeutic means, like music therapy, I call it. And a lot of people just hear the ending product, but, you know, don't see the initial struggle. And that's That's beautiful, because I don't want anyone to see, negative or feel negative, but like it absolved me of that feeling for sure, which I'm grateful for. Oh, I'm excited about so many things for the future. As far as like my individual self, I have an installment of at least 2 more albums following this one. I'm excited for that on my individual end, but then to the end of Agent Green, we're working on album number 4 and 5 right now for Agent Green, which is really sick. We're putting it through mastering processes on album 4, and we're creating songs for number 5. It's super exciting to kind of get feedback for like the all original aspect of things, because our 3rd album comprised of no original material except for the drums. Like we sampled things, we used records, we were scratching, and now it's like bass, guitar, saxophone, glockenspiel, like weird shit. So I'm so excited for people to hear this 4th album, because it's going to be so much different than the others. And we might have some really exciting new names like old heads in 90s hip hop featuring on the track with Agent Green. So I don't want to like give away any names because nothing's like in stone or like signed yet, but I'm telling you, it's going to be really, really tight. And hopefully a lot of people will hear about it from that feature. Like, I don't know, Agent Green's music is amazing enough, but with that, it will get the attention that I think it deserves. There's other projects too, and like other bands that I work with in Milwaukee and within the umbrella of Mammoth Prehistoric Publishing, which is like our record label. We have Casey Pseudopoop, amazing guy, great artist, great performer. We have Matt, aka Rab Leslie. He's got a lot of good stuff. He's an amazing guitarist. I referred to him earlier. These are the session players that play with Agent Green. They are eventually bound to have their own albums underneath our record label. And when I say our, I mean Alec and I's, because we share ownership in Mammoth Prehistoric Publishing. So eventually we're going to get these cats on their own albums on Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff, so that they can be in a position like this telling you about their music. So I'm going to be the engineer at the end of the day, making sure that happens. In 5 years, I see myself working in the music industry still, like with a few different bands, like as their engineer, or maybe like as helping them master tracks or just tracking stuff like within sessions. But at the end of the day, an engineer for Agent Green, I want a 9-to-5 job. I like to be in the industry of finance while also having this like amazing career with music. To answer your question, in 5 years, whichever career has, really, really made me more happy, I think, I want to make room for music either way, but I want to make sure that I can pay for that lifestyle. In 5 years, I will have my music catalog established to my liking. Whether or not I make money for it, that's up in the air. And I'm okay with that, because I didn't put it out for benefit. I put it out just to like have it out. I'm glad it is. Locally, I want to make a difference in the hip hop culture, right? I hope I can have some effect, because like every single day, everyone's trying to have a better effect. Like you hope, right? If I can do that with music by any means, by like striking anyone's, inspiration or their, preference or whatever, just like on a playlist or some shit, then I would love to do that. Someone looking to get into music, I would say, well, it depends on what age they're at. If they're over 18, I would say go to MATC for audio engineering, because they taught me everything I know, and they're so awesome there. They're great. The program is amazing. I love that Milwaukee has something local, because somebody else put me on when I was out of Marquette. Pat's buddy, Alfie, he said, they have this amazing program. So he put me onto it. So I want to put other people onto it. Like, it's really good. If you are a Milwaukee artist, or like specifically in the genre of hip hop, and you call yourself an artist, you should be very attentive and caring about your music and your audience and your content. Not as much like your fashion or like the way that you talk or like, the way that you behave personally. There's a lot of like different ways you can find potential and like the way that you see yourself as an artist, like in the future. Like I thought I'd be paid on this label and having so much fun, like living the crazy life, being like wealthy and this and that. But no, even if I was on a label, they wouldn't pay me like that. You know, it's not like wealth. It's like just notoriety, which would be nice, but still not what I want. You know what I mean? In terms of funding, I have everything I need. I don't need more money to make more music. So in the end, it boils down to, do you want to be your own boss or do you want to work for a label? And I didn't know that back when I was making music. So the fulfillment of making music now is that I can publish it on my own accord and under my own name and our own publishing company. So that makes it 10 times juicier, because if anyone picks up any one of these tracks, it will be nothing but profit in our pocket, not something we have to split. Being successful is loving what you do. I'm already successful. Solo means to me, like, it's a one-word phrase to describe the growth of my brother's individualism into an entity that he now calls this word that represents a subculture that will envelop a good part of all of us. I think it's, individuality growing, innocence blooming into experience. That's what it is.